This is my Warhammer Age of Sigmar tomb reveal. Thousands of points of Stormcast. I loved them dearly. But, for reasons, 2 years ago, I moved on. Now I'm wondering, is it time to pick up Age of Sigmar again? And with some hindsight, can I now figure out the best way to get into the game? Because it's difficult not to get carried away when in the ecosystem. Lots of Stormcast miniatures. Looks like I got some Seraphon at some point too. There was also an attempt at getting some orcs going. I know there's some boxes of orcs somewhere, not even assembled. And plastic, still on that orc book. Obsolete. That's what sucked the energy out the first time. The investment, not only in the expensive minis, but the hundreds of hours put into painting and conversions, yet never managing to get an army vision complete before it was leveled by the ever-flattening bulldozer of new additions and brand renewal. Ditching Warhammer, then, was definitely not a rational act, but it felt good, you know? Stick it to the man. The world is, after all, filled with great games and wonderful minis. So why go back? Is it worth it? And how to do it? I figured a sensible path would be a list, right? Pro, con, that kind of thing. And then I'll get a yes or a no, and maybe even a what by the end of it. So, pro. Great looking miniatures. This is probably the deal breaker for me. I grew up with Warhammer. The style has changed, but it still tickles my fancy. There's none like it. The sculpting is great. Player base and community size. A lot of people play the game. I have friends who play the game. I don't have to sell this game to others. I don't have to be the advocate like I do with other games I want to play. That bit has already been taken care of. A lot of choices. The catalogue of different armies and units is spectacularly vast. News. As much as it's the reason for my own grumbling, that ever-churning bulldozer does leave new shiny bits behind it. Some cons. Well, I'm not going to put the price tag here, per se. The price comes with the territory. But I think smart purchasing is more likely to keep me happy. Those stat cards I bought for Stormcast twice? Con. The new released miniatures just because advertising told me? Con. The books for armies I might be interested in, the future plans that only turn into piles of grey plastic because the plans were too vague? Con. Stay focused or stay poor. News. The constant revamp of factions and, well, sometimes complete removal of factions, and the same goes for rules and stat updates. Con. Why not try figure things out before you release it? Anyway, this all needs a considered strategy. And finally, well, there's a lot of choices. I mean, the catalogue of units and armies is spectacularly vast. And within that catalogue lies the minefield of what speaks to your heart versus what would actually suit you, both in terms of look, but also play style. I'm saying this because it's not something I thought of the first time I got into Age of Sigmar. I was more like, wow, this looks cool. And that is a great start. But the fact remains that if you see yourself playing the game, then there might be considerations to take regarding how the army plays. Do I want something that charges all in, something that shoots a lot, something that doesn't die, something that dies a lot, something with annoying magic tricks? And personally, I'm not talking about this because of winning or competitions. No, all this needs to line up with what at least seems like a fun story on the table, a fun game that suits me. So how do we go about choosing an army in terms of playstyle, based on that we don't know a thing? Let's start at looking what the makers of the game, Games Workshop, say should logically be the best place as they know the most. No. It's actually surprisingly difficult. You'd think, being a strategic tabletop game, that the different strategies would at least be explained a little somewhere. Well, I can't find it. Any click on any link is a link to a purchase and not to information. I might, of course, be missing something here, question mark, please help me out if that's the case. But the best I could find is a 2-year-old page on Warhammer Community. So I've updated it with some very brief research. Those in the know, beware of my lacking knowledge, but this is what it looks like for newbies. So let's try to code this fluff. Stormcast, elite, Kinda says a lot. Less units, but powerful. I mean, there's dragons. My own personal take is there's a lot of unit choice, and this can make it difficult to know what to put into your army. Cities of Sigmar, shooting and defensive formation. That must mean not very good at fast movement or onslaught attacks. Take the enemy down before it gets too close. Hold that objective. I have seen some cavalry though, so maybe infantry screens with shooting behind it and some horses. Lumineth. Arcane and wizards are mentioned, so a lot of magic. Rely on careful elemental harmonies. I guess that might mean the need to build armies with specific units that buff each other. I mean, more so than in other armies. And I do believe there is a bit of shooting options, too. Sylvaneth. Sneaky movement. Well, don't charge head-on then. Whisk folk between strategically placed woods sounds like tactical teleportation to me, with some flying going on and a little bit of shooting. Daughters of Cain, fast movement-based combat with blood magic. Fragile. So hit before you get hit? You really want to go first, perhaps? Ideneth Deepkin. Oceanic. This is still funny to me. Anyway, difficult text to figure out, and that could mean complex playstyle. But cavalry means cavalry, that's for sure, and ocean also rhymes with wave, so crash onto the foe like a wave tactic? Fireslayers. Hack everything to bits and hope you don't get shot down before you get there. Indomitable tends to mean kind of difficult to put down. Caradon overlords. Fly in, shoot a lot, fly out. Means don't get caught in melee combat, I guess. Seraphon. Bit of everything but no shooting mentioned, so a bit of choice between magic and hordes or sturdy warriors. Skaven. First time I read expendable, so screening tactics or just swarm tactics with unreliable shooting, perhaps. The most fun description of an army so far, lack of effective command, could translate into low morale or just unpredictable. Slaves to darkness, strength and expendability. Hack or get hacked? No shooting or magic mentioned at all. Blades of Corn, effective at charging headlong into the melee. Sounds like it says it all, but I feel like I'm missing something here. I'm trying to remember from past games that I've played, there was a lot of summoning, like sacrificing weak units, and then all of a sudden there's an unstoppable demon summoned on the table, and you die. Nurgle, tough fighters that wade. That is not a term used for speed. Difficult to kill sounds like less but heavier units. Elites. Also, I remember there being a fair bit of magic and a bit of annoying flying things, but that might be old scars talking. Slanesh, Slanish, speed. A lot of focus on speed here. That usually means less armor because you don't need it if you stab them real fast. And adaptability means precision? Perhaps. Singe. Lots of magic. Lots and lots of it. And ranged fire. I think I played them once. It was annoying. Lots of magic, dice tricks, and other magic shenanigans. Soulblight Gravelords. Minions, masses, and mobs are mentioned, but also diverse. A bit all over the place if you wanted to, but mostly an undying tide of minions? Bone Reapers. Marching regiments and discipline. Sounds slow, but difficult to break. Drive them like a bulldozer right where you want them. ? Nighthaunt. Fragile, but charging in and out, so I guess no holding against a line of heavy warriors, but instead tickle them on the back? Winning through movement rather than an all-out fight? Flesh Eater Quartz. Summoning, that's a big one. Hurl into combat with no thought for safety. I get strong attacks, but not so much armor because you don't need it if you can resurrect. Iron Jaws. Heavy armored close combat, period. Cruel Boys, a balanced roster of troops, reads a little bland, perhaps. But is it fun choices or just too many choices? I don't know. There's magic, shooting, and dirty tricks, too. Gits, or goblins, if you will. Like Skaven, this reads like fun, the first to be described as weak and puny and high on mushrooms. All in all, maybe exactly what you need more of in a game, to be honest. But seems a varied chaos, as there's also trolls in the mix. Sons of Behemoth. Behemoth? Anyway, a handful of giants and all that can entail. Very kind of specialized in all ways, I guess. Orgor more tribes. I guess strong, thick-skinned, and quite a lot of movement happening. Finally, not on the 2024 list, Hellsmiths of Hashut, or Chaos Dwarves to us old folk. Fun, monster-sized machines, cannons and that, so shooting with rather elite units. They're rather stocky, so I'd be surprised if they move fast. Now, and the previously mentioned orcs are also nowadays in the one book. I've got no idea kind of how that interacts, but on top of all of this, there is, of course, I believe, the option to bring in a few units from other factions into your army, regardless of army, at least within the different categories like order, destruction, and so forth. But this complicates my choice at the moment, so I'll pass by swiftly. Now, looking past the fine print, we have a few different major playstyles based on aggression, or shooting, or magic, or hordes, or elites, as in the opposite of hordes. I kind of honestly think I might be a bit of a shooter. Further knowledge on playstyle can of course be tasted on YouTube. Watching Battletome reviews or battle reports, I really recommend it because you might find traits or meanings to an army you didn't know about that puts your choice into a different light, even if it's something in the lore that just gets through to you. There is of course also the glorious option of visiting your local friendly game store. Maybe check out some of the games being played, but also, have a chat with the staff. Like Sonia, here, over at Alpha Spel. Sonia's great. Say hi to Sonia. These good folk are here to help. And if they're not Warhammer experts themselves, they can point in the general direction of the staff member that is. They work in a game store for a reason, and they're our allies in the hobby. So, support your local friendly game store. Go there. And while you're there, you can start looking at the minis, because holding a box is better than looking at a 360 image online. And this is the thing, right? If it wasn't for miniatures, it wouldn't be, a miniatures game. Not only do I think you kind of need to think your minis look cool, just because that's a big thing, but it's going to help so much with getting everything painted if you actually like them a lot. And this is where most of my possible choices get ticked off or pushed off the list simply for model reasons, as I predominantly am a painter. But quite a few stay. Goblins, with options for trolls and lots of squigs, probably up top when it comes to fun when painting. Nurgle. These new models are stunning to my eye. Also, there's a lot of freedom to paint. The skin could be any color, so can the cloth and all else. Sure, this goes for all minis in front of you, do whatever you feel like, but these kind of whisper in my ear, saying, do what you want. I can be fluorescent pink and all would be well. These forest dudes and dudettes look really cool. I think the design is rather unique, like Ents on speed, but there's just a bit too many pretty swirly bits for me. Inside, there's a little grimdark bit of me that would have liked to have seen some misplaced pieces of nailed-on armor or a more gritty look, but maybe they're allergic to iron. But it could be a very cool kit bash project, go medieval on their bark. And then there's these folk, Cities of Sigmar, kind of the most, medieval-looking faction, proper humans in proper armor with proper weapons. The least fantastical, but maybe the most appealing. After going through my brief run-through on playstyle, my more thorough look on sculpting and thoughts on the miniatures themselves, there is at the end some practicalities. I need a plan to try and avoid my personal grudge trigger. The potential scenario of buying a faction book, devising what I think would be a cool army, buying minis when I can afford them, painting them well, to then see the release of a new refreshed faction book, realizing my army maybe no longer is what I wanted it to be, worst case scenario, some units are even removed. Now there's several steps to this plan. One has to be, don't take so bloody long. Two is to try hard. This is for some personal reason difficult for me, but I can try to not be so dedicated to getting it exactly right. Don't take it so bloody seriously. I'm not playing official tournaments. If something gets retired, I can just ignore it. Number 3 is don't go with the poster boy and girl faction. It gets the most frequent revamps, so Stormcast are out. 4, look at what has just gotten new minis and that, new books and rules, and stay away from the old. A bit harsh, perhaps, but I'm just dealing with my own reactions here. So if I go through and add all the filters, first off, I think, yes, I'd like to start a new Age of Sigmar army. The biggest factor is honestly how good I think the minis are looking. I kind of miss that. And I miss getting my ass kicked every game by my neighbor Carl. And so what about the other filters then? What I'd like to play, what I think looks great, what I want to paint, and what is to me the pragmatic choice? Well, thus we have Skaven, Nurgle, Cities of Sigmar. With this selection, I then fall back to what do I really enjoy if I look at my backlog of all miniatures and miniature games in the past that I've painted and worked on. Well, the common denominator is it's humans, isn't it? Never quite thought about it, but for some reason, just looking at what I've been painting and playing in the past, like 80% are humans. Future humans, past humans. There's a fair bit of orcs in the mix, but no orcs made the cut. So, narrowed it down to Cities of Sigmar. But how to proceed then? Well, in the past, I've always started with the big tantalizing release, the big decent value for money box, but I've then realized that what I want for my army is not in that box, and I have to go and buy the little expensive boxes anyway. So I'm going to be responsible about it and order the new Cities of Sigmar Battle Tome when it gets released in just a little while, and then figure out what I want to be putting in my army, no spearhead or big boxes, unless they're just what I need, of course. But first, the book. As always, there will be updates and stat changes a few months after the fact of release, as balancing seems to be a hindsight activity at Games Workshop, but I'm ready for it this time. And if I don't like what I read, well, the book is at least cheaper than a full army. Responsible, right? Well, I mean, there are limits. I got this fellow. No idea what he is or what he does, but this is one great-looking miniature. Something to try a color scheme on, perhaps? Maybe test some conversions? And if worst comes to worst, just another great-looking mini to have fun painting. Now, this has all just been my way to try and figure out if and how to get back into Age of Sigmar, but I thought it might help some of you out there. Thanks for watching. Please press all the little buttons, it really helps. See you in the next one. Bye.